The 22nd floor of Hawthorne Technologies overlooked the entire city. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the morning sun, while dozens of employees hurried through the sleek glass hallways carrying laptops and presentation folders. It was the biggest day in the company's history. Inside the executive conference room, the atmosphere was electric. Investors from around the country sat around a polished walnut table, waiting for the official demonstration of Aegis AI, a revolutionary artificial intelligence platform that Hawthorne Technologies had spent more than 2 years developing. Outside the room, reporters and photographers crowded the lobby, eager to cover the launch that financial analysts predicted would add billions of dollars to the company's value. At the head of the table stood CEO Vanessa Hawthorne. Confident, elegant, and fiercely ambitious, Vanessa had earned a reputation for demanding perfection. Failure was not a word she tolerated. Beside her stood Daniel Pierce, the company's celebrated lead engineer. At only 31 years old, he was considered a genius. His coworkers admired his intelligence, and he knew it. Vanessa smiled at the investors. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. In just a few minutes, you'll witness technology that will redefine our industry." The room filled with polite applause. Daniel stepped toward the control console and pressed a key. The giant display flickered. Instead of the company logo, every screen suddenly went black. A second later, bright red letters appeared. "Critical system failure." The applause died instantly. Daniel frowned and began typing rapidly. "No. That can't be right." He opened diagnostic windows, restarted the primary server, and tried reconnecting the network. Nothing changed. The warning remained. Sweat formed on his forehead. Vanessa's confident smile disappeared. "What happened?" I don't know," Daniel admitted. "The primary server isn't responding, and the backup network isn't taking over." The countdown clock in the corner of the screen continued ticking. 9 minutes until the live presentation. Investors exchanged worried whispers. One of them quietly closed his notebook. Vanessa turned sharply to her assistant. "Call the infrastructure team. They're already working on it. Then fix it." The assistant hesitated. "Ma'am, maintenance says the backup network was custom-built years ago. The only person who fully understood it isn't employed here anymore." Vanessa frowned. "What do you mean?" "It was designed by Ethan Carter." The name sounded familiar. Then she remembered. Ethan had once been Hawthorne Technologies' senior systems architect. Quiet, brilliant, and respected throughout the company, he had designed much of the firm's original server infrastructure. But 7 years earlier, after his wife died unexpectedly, he resigned to raise his young son alone. Vanessa had assumed he'd eventually join another technology company. "What does he do now?" she asked. The assistant looked uncomfortable. "He's downstairs, working for another company." "No." The assistant lowered her voice. "He's delivering food." Several executives exchanged surprised looks. Daniel couldn't hide a smirk. "The architect of our systems is a delivery driver." Vanessa sighed. "Bring him upstairs." Less than 2 minutes later, the conference room doors opened. A man wearing a navy delivery jacket stepped inside, carrying an insulated food bag. He looked tired but composed. His name badge read Ethan Carter. He recognized several familiar faces, though most of them barely recognized him. Vanessa studied him for a moment. "So, life has changed." Ethan smiled politely. "It has. I heard you're making deliveries now. I work where the schedule lets me pick up my son after school." The room fell quiet. Vanessa folded her arms. "Well, we have a major system failure." Daniel stepped forward confidently. "I've already tried every diagnostic procedure. It's a software issue." Vanessa glanced at Ethan before saying the words that made several executives nod in agreement. "I'm afraid you're no match for my engineer." Daniel smiled proudly. Ethan didn't react. Instead, he simply nodded. "If that's what you believe, I'll let you get back to work." He turned toward the door. "Wait," Vanessa called. She took a deep breath. "At least look at it. We have nothing left to lose." Ethan carefully placed his insulated delivery bag on a nearby chair. Inside were meals that still needed to be delivered before lunch. He walked to the equipment rack without saying another word. Unlike Daniel, he didn't touch the keyboard immediately. Instead, he stood quietly, listening. The room watched in silence. After several seconds, Ethan crouched beside the server cabinet. A faint clicking sound echoed from inside. He removed one side panel. His eyes moved slowly across the cables. Then he smiled. I thought so. Daniel crossed his arms. What is it? This isn't a software problem. It has to be. No. Ethan pointed toward a small controller hidden behind the power distribution unit. The backup controller entered protection mode after last night's power fluctuation. Daniel frowned. That shouldn't stop the system. It does if no one updated the firmware after version 4. Daniel stared. Quote. Version 4. Ethan nodded. I wrote that firmware. The room became silent. Ethan unplugged one cable, pressed a tiny recessed reset switch with the tip of a pen, counted quietly to 5, and reconnected the controller. For one long second, nothing happened. Then the server fans roared to life. Lights flashed across every equipment rack. The monitors came alive one after another. The red warning vanished. The Hawthorne Technologies logo appeared, followed by the Aegis AI startup screen. The countdown clock read 4:57. The demonstration was saved. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room before applause erupted. Daniel stood frozen, staring at the restored system. I never even knew that controller existed. Ethan smiled gently. It wasn't included in the public documentation. Why not? Because I wrote it as an emergency safeguard. Vanessa slowly walked toward him, unable to hide her disbelief. You designed the entire backup architecture. I did, and no one else knows how it works. I offered to train the team before I left. Vanessa remembered. She had declined the proposal, believing the documentation would be enough. Now that decision had nearly cost the company its biggest launch. Ethan picked up his delivery bag. I should get going. Vanessa hurried after him. Ethan, please. He stopped. For the first time that morning, the confident CEO no longer sounded confident. We need you. Ethan looked at her calmly. A few minutes ago, you said I was no match for your engineer. Vanessa lowered her eyes. I was wrong. Her voice softened. Please come back. Lead our infrastructure team. Name your salary. Ethan glanced at the photo of his 8-year-old son taped inside his delivery bag, a reminder of why he had chosen a different life. My son gets out of school in 30 minutes, he said quietly. If working here means missing those moments again, no amount of money is worth it. The executives looked at one another in silence. For the first time, they realized that the man they had underestimated possessed something even more valuable than technical genius. He knew exactly what mattered most.